These are the last words my 87-year-old grandfather spoke to me before he died.
Thanks, Shannon. I just got home from the hospital, sitting in the window, looking over the river. Looks really good and really, it's just going to be a trial and error, I guess, from now on. And like you say, have the faith that you need to overcome and to progress on. It evidently wasn't my time. I'll talk to you later. I love you.
Over the last couple of years, I asked my grandpa about 1,000 questions to capture his life story. I interviewed him long distance using a video phone recording app called Marco Polo. So many nostril selfies. Grandpa, that's the ceiling. Grandpa, that's the floor. Turn the video around. Once he got the hang of it, though, we exchanged hundreds of video messages. I have lived 2,000 miles away from my grandpa my entire life. It is less common in our society for younger and older generations to be close to each other. I've also noticed we have a bit of a problem between our younger and older generations understanding one another, both ways. Since I hadn't spent much time around my grandpa, I decided it was time to ask some real questions of my grandpa. So I got to thinking about what really mattered in my life and what I cared about and what he cared about. We connected and I started to ask him questions. I knew for sure I had to ask more. I had to learn more gritty questions about him. I mailed him my daughter's high school graduation announcement. He receives it. He opens it. He says, "I got the announcement. It's different." What? Good? Bad? Her hair? Her makeup? The italic font? I wanted to ask him more questions, but I was scared. I was used to being a sweet, submissive granddaughter. Children should be seen and not heard. I knew I had to do something different because inside of me, something probed me, something gritty that I wanted to ask real questions. Who was my grandfather, and how does that impact who I am? The generational gap is nothing new, but somehow my way of experiencing it feels new, charged, passionate. Could asking questions forage the gap of generational division? I did it. You can do it. I overheard this kid at the movie theater complaining about elders. He too can do it. When we listen with the purpose of preserving another's perspective, transformation is possible. Author Kent Narburn of Life Lessons of the Native Way speaks of Native American tradition connecting elders and seniors through service. He quotes Ojibwe native Joe, who says, "When they spend time together, they see that their hearts are wide open to them. Though they are farthest apart in years, they are nearest in their closeness to the Creator." I could sense in myself some of this disconnect in the way I held back. I've been raised, conditioned to be part of the generation who speaks up, uses my voice. I decided it was time I listened to that still small voice within me and spoke up, sonny boy. I decided to ask my grandfather some real questions before it was too late. I got started, and I had no idea how much fun I was about to have. I started asking everybody questions. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, second cousins once removed. I was like Columbo. Oh, there's just one more thing. I learned Larry Christensen was born in 1932 in rural southern Idaho, The fourth of 10 children, he enlisted in the Air Force, where he wrote juicy love letters to a spunky, pretty redhead named Marva, whom he happened to marry when she was 17. She was the backbone of his financial success as an auto body shop owner. They had 4 children, 22 grandchildren, and 35 great-grandchildren. God and family were supreme. Larry Christensen was a lifelong learner. Gold panning, fly fishing, bowling, scripture mastery, gardening. In time, our relationship of trust grew, and I was able to ask him more difficult questions. I asked him about what I perceived to be his distant relationship with my father. He told me that when my dad was a boy, he was relentlessly harassed by bullies. And as his father, he was not able to stop the torment and still felt grief for having failed in this area. All these questions was causing everyone else in my family to act. And my dad, at this same time, happened to write about his memories and wrote about this exact story. But in my father's version, he recalled his father, the hero. He warded off the bullies. I felt impressed to read aloud my dad's version to my grandfather. And when I did, his countenance shifted, like decades of worry were gone in an instant. My grandfather died 2 months after that day. Another chance would not have come for father and son to resolve strife. I asked about politics, but chink. Answers did not always come in words. On an in-person interview trip, I brought along my teenage daughter. Rainbow flag raising, burn down the system. Could it be possible that she and he could compassionately connect? Man who served in the mind-controlling military and who voted for a man whose name shall not be named. Maybe, maybe not. But something incredible happened. We sat for interviews, and my daughter observed her great-grandfather looking flustered out the window, gazing at the wild, unruly willow tree growing in his front yard. And she quietly took initiative, having arborist skills. She trimmed this tree and restored it to its former glory. She gave relief to her great-grandfather to see this tree beautiful and tidy again. And she felt subtle peace for having provided service to him. Intergenerational acceptance came unexpectedly. So many parallels have I found because I asked. My grandfather struggled in school. So did my son. They both found solace in fly fishing. Great-grandfather gave great-grandson his fly fishing rod, which he still fishes with today. These interviews brought these two distant generations together in important ways. My grandfather had difficult days caring for my grandmother with dementia, and he had hard nights battling his own aging pain. Our chats were an outlet for his frustrations, and they boosted his morale. I knew our conversations mattered for sure when in agony he was in the hospital in his dying days in the middle of COVID-19 hospital restrictions where he could have no visitors. He sent me a desperate video chat telling me he was grateful for the questions, that he felt seen, heard, and valuable because I asked him questions and his stories would exist beyond his life. The funny thing about that was that I felt seen, heard, and valuable because he answered my questions. I found the questions are available for everyone. I could inspire by asking questions, and others would begin to ask their own questions and get their own answers. Unity and purpose grew in my whole family as we all embraced this important work. I found the more I let go of the role of submissive child, the more I found equality. In time, I was no longer sure where my grandfather ended and where I began. Finally, I asked my grandpa about his love of music. He has sang to me my entire life. Questions remind me of singing, a call, an answer, a refrain. It brings joy, even if you're bad at it. My grandpa sang in the church choir until my grandma made him quit because she thought he sounded like a beached whale auditioning for the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Like a song, grandfather and granddaughter, a call and answer, motivated others to sing the stories that otherwise would have remained muted within them. That once still small voice within me is now a loud, unstoppable choir that demands you engage in intergenerational dialogue. Here are 2 ways for you to get started today. First, ask a loved one if you can ask a question or 2. Second, record the conversation. You will regret not asking. You will never regret asking. This is a song I sang to my grandpa just before he died, the same that he sang to me 100 times in my life. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Intergenerational listening can heal. The answers to my questions are my sunshine and will be yours too, just as soon as you ask them.